the backdrop of the story is that Hippolytus has vowed his love to Artemis. And it's an eternal love that neither one of them are ever going to break. And so after that, Aphrodite falls in love with Hippolytus, and he rejects her because he's already vowed to permanent love. And because of that, Aphrodite casts a curse on Hippolytus, and this curse metastasizes itself in the sense that his father's new wife, Phaedra, falls in love with him. So, and she writes a letter, and then obviously he's not going to break his vow, and he's ultimately going to reject her. But so in the letter, it makes sense that the story comes together in that way. So it makes sense that she's writing a love letter because she had the curse. He rejects her, and the curse ends up making the father put another curse on him, and then he ends up getting killed. So I would say that the juiciness of this story does go hand in hand with everything else.
We had to decide whether he was a feminist or not. We really feel like in this story, in this letter, it's impossible to be a feminist because she is in love with her husband's son. So we feel like in other stories, like the letter Penelope wrote, he was on her side, he was a feminist, he was actually supporting her because she was alone and had nobody. But here, he just couldn't be. He couldn't side with her because she was trying to be with her husband's son.
And he uses satire to say how she wanted to be with her husband's son because basically puts her whole life, family history out there. Talks about how her mom, Pasiphae, fell in love with an actual bull, and then talks about her grandmother, Europa, falling in love with Zeus, but he was in the form of a bull. So she uses how her family fell in love with bulls to try and justify how she's falling in love with Thetis' son, her husband's son.
All right, well, is Phaedra justified for ending up in her predicament? It depends on how you look at the story, because there are different versions of the story. In one version of this background story where Theseus and Ariadne and Phaedra leave Crete, they were kidnapped. In another version, they went willingly. So she's claiming that she was kidnapped. Was she really kidnapped, or was she just saying she was kidnapped and that she didn't love him so that she could go with Hippolytus? She also, as she was saying, was justifying herself by saying that her family had weird love in the past, so why this is bad, but it doesn't really work. She's not her mom, she's not her grandmother, she's her own person, so she can't really justify with her family's terms of love with her own. And there's also that Aphrodite could have been the whole reason behind her falling in love with Hippolytus. So is she justified? I would say that if Aphrodite didn't have an influence on her, then I would say that no, she's not justified in saying that it's not her fault, it is her own fault for getting in this predicament. But if there was some sort of divine influence, then I would say that she is slightly justified. So.
As far as regarding as a love letter, it's a love letter, but it's kind of more or less a response to a rejection. She kind of has a spell. She's madly in love with Hippolytus, and took a quote out. I admire it if you struggle with the arched necks of fiery horses, making them turn their hooves in circles, or if you actually calmly hurl the javelin with your strong arm. And then she says some more things about how she admires him, but she ends it with, in the end, whatever you do, you delight my eyes. So she's very much so a love letter, how she's longing for him, but it's not so much two-way love street. She's got a response to a rejection. So it's not a rejection letter, but it's a love letter. She's kind of responding to her rejection from Hippolytus, and like I said, it's not a two-way street. So we do consider it a traditional love letter in a sense, depending on how you regard love letters, but there we go.
we said that the author was playing with humor because the difference in age, and also that Hippolytus was he had vowed to stay a virgin, and so his love would be unrequited to Phaedra.
So it's kind of it's on reason anyways for them to get together because she already made a vow. So it's kind of funny. She's kind of making fun of that. It's interesting.
All set? Thank you very much.